Welcome into the draft profile for James Pearce Jr., defensive edge rusher out of Tennessee. This is one of the first defensive draft profile videos I'm doing, trying to do a video every single day leading up to the NFL draft, so follow the journey if you're interested. Let's get right into it. James Pearce Jr. is 6'5", 245 pounds, high-cut speed rusher out of Tennessee. And yeah, look, he's kind of your classic one-trick-ish pony. I think that's kind of a fair way to put him. That's definitely the box he's going to be put into. We're going to kind of dive into it, but I'm not going to bury the lead here. That's pretty much my take. I think that's kind of the take of the NFL. Let's go ahead and get into it. It's James Pearce Jr. Let's go ahead and look at this skill chart here for you guys. So here we go. And look, obviously, we'll get the obvious ones out of the way. Burst, 7.6. Athleticism, 7.8. Yeah, special stuff. I mean, those are both elite grades for me. That's what he is. That he is incredibly explosive. As I mentioned, the combine just kind of proved what we already knew about him. We knew that he was this type of guy, right? So the things that I would say was a little bit surprising to me, and one of my least favorite things about the player, flexibility and bend. That's really where I'm like, okay, not a ton of just that natural bend that you see from a lot of these elite speed rushers coming out of college. I mean, it again, and you can watch all of his highlights and then watch the highlights of like Mike Green out of Marshall. That's a guy who's super bendy, and you can just see the difference. He's a little bit stiff. He's, I'd say, narrow. He has a little bit of a narrow frame, and I do think that matters. I think NFL teams care about it. I do think that is kind of part of the conversation that has to be talked about when you're putting him in the box that he's in, which is speed rusher. It's, okay, what else does he have? What other tools does he bring to the table? And when that's not one of the tools that you bring to the table, I think it takes you down a notch. I think it brings you down a notch as far as where teams are going to value in the landscape of the draft, right? But we'll get back to the skill chart here for you guys. Play strength at a 5.2. Interesting spot for me because I have to mention that I absolutely love his overall speed to power move. I think it's my favorite part about his game. He absolutely can pack some punch in that aspect. And obviously, 6'5", he's lengthy, but he's a strong dude, obviously. So I gave that kind of your NFL average type of grade, especially for the type of guy that he is. I'm not going to be blown away. I don't think it's one of the top 3 traits that you would mention when you talk about him or anything. But to kind of put that in perspective, leverage at a 3.1 is kind of the grade where I talk about, okay, how much sand in your pants do you have? Can you hold the block? Can you set the edge? Like, those aspects of his game aren't there, I don't think. I think it's going to get washed away. I think in the NFL, it could get even worse, honestly. I do believe that that's a huge factor of his game because he's a liability. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. That's where he's at in his game at this point. Now, you can obviously hide him. Obviously, you can play him weak side. You can manipulate the defense in a lot of different ways, and he can obviously improve and grow. I will at least mention that tackling at a 6 is good. Like, I thought he just, he's an athlete. He's got great short area quickness and explosiveness, and if he's in the vicinity, he's gonna get you down. But when you're on the line, there's just so much more to it than that, as far as protecting the run and staying in your lane. I will say read and react is at a 5.5. And the only thing that I wanted to mention is, he can get caught upfield, and that's just a factor of the way he's going to play the game. And I think that's going to translate, right? He's going to get out of line at times. He's going to lose contain at times. Those are just elements of the way he plays that you're just going to have to live with almost. I mean, I think that's just what it is. And, the positive is he's going to get sacks in the NFL. I mean, he's going to be chaos for NFL quarterbacks. So you take the good with the bad with stuff like that. And we'll go ahead and bring it home with a couple other things I want to talk about. Technique at a 5.1 really just kind of encompasses his lack of counter moves, his lack of a plan outside of his first move really working or not working. At pass rush is 6.4. The only reason that's not higher, like, I give him a good grade for just his pure physical ability and his ability to utilize speed to power, utilize what he does have in his bag, but I didn't see, a robust amount of moves. Like, he's not a skilled pass rusher at this point in his career. He's still kind of raw from that perspective. So the positive there is room to grow. I think a team in, let's say, the last part of the first round, you can take him, and if you're in a spot where you can afford to wait on a guy to develop, he can develop into just an absolute menace, right? And he has places he can go. There's places he can grow. It's hard for me to imagine him falling past the Eagles, if I'm being 100% honest with you. I'm not projecting that. I don't know. I'm just kind of pointing out that, like, I do think there's situations that could be perfect for him, and I don't have a great feeling exactly which team's going to love him. I do think there's a reality of the situation. He's not going to be on every team's board. He's not going to be valued in the first round range on every team's board. Like, some teams just aren't going to be interested in working with a guy like this who does have flaws to his game. I mean, he fits a specific box, and if you're a team that doesn't value that, I mean, that just is what it is, right? So where he goes, how he fits in the NFL, going to be very dependent on the NFL draft. Super excited to see where he lands. Hopefully this video didn't give you the impression that I'm like super low on him. I'm not. I'm just less inclined to, lose my mind about a guy who, it has incredible athletic testing, played the position okay in college, but we know that he's coming into the NFL with one role, and it's a fairly limited one. It's one of the most important roles in the NFL, so it's going to have value, and he's going to get drafted pretty high and paid very well to do what he can do. But I do see limitations, and I even question what that high-end potential is for that role, just because of some of the flexibility issues, just because of some of the strength issues that I mentioned, right? Look, we'll see. It's going to be very, very interesting to see. But all right, guys, that is all I have on James Pearce Jr. Hopefully I did a good job of kind of giving you the overall feelings about the player and how he's going to integrate in the NFL. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you agree with kind of my take? Do you think that he has more to offer as far as developing into a three-down player? If you think so, it's definitely possible that I'm just wrong on that. But hey, let me know. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff definitely helps out. A small creator who's trying to grow on YouTube and talk NFL draft year round. I just love doing it. So hey, if you can support that, it really means a lot. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.